what we do every week at this time and check in with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you?
What's happening, bud?
Not much. Last night out of an exciting atmosphere over at Mainland Regional for the Ocean City Mainland Regional boys game, a great game, and I guess you'll have part two of that rivalry on Sunday night over at Ocean City at the 97.3 ESPN shootout when the Mainland girls take on the Ocean City girls. So it's kind of a Mainland Ocean City weekend, basically.
Yeah, we just had Emma Finnegan on from Ocean City a couple minutes ago, and I asked her, how do you guard Kylie Watson? And she said you get a lot of help side defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Kylie, obviously, 6'4" junior. We all know about her, one of the top juniors in the country, averaging about 20 points a game this season for a Mainland team that's 13-2, with the only two losses being a 1-point loss to Paul VI and an overtime loss to Gloucester Catholic. So, game tomorrow night where if Mainland were to win, they would kind of cement themselves as the number one seed going into that Cape Atlantic League tournament, which starts on February 15th, and also kind of put them as the team to beat in South Jersey Group 3 this season.
Mike, we got to get you on the Atlantic City girls bandwagon. Madison Bressel, Savannah Robertson, Siani Red Howard, doing some big things over there at AC. Yeah,
I was out there this past Tuesday, as you were out at ACIT for that game where Atlantic City wins 34-33. They kind of take over first place in that CAL American Division, and they've got a big game today at the shootout. They play Gloucester Catholic, I believe, 6 o'clock over at Ocean City. Gloucester Catholic, a perennial power. Atlantic City has some impressive wins this season. They beat Middle Township by a point. They get a close win over ACIT. But they also have a pair of kind of frustrating losses. They lost to Mainland on opening night. They lost to Ocean City a couple of days later, in a very close game. I know Atlantic City and Coach Jason Lance is looking for a win that kind of, will open up the eyes of the rest of South Jersey to kind of how talented the Lady Vikings are. And they get an opportunity today against Gloucester Catholic.
And, Mike, you mentioned Middle Township. I know John Leahy was pretty livid when they lost to Atlantic City, blew a big fourth-quarter lead in the Seagull Classic, and they've kind of straightened things out a little bit in the last 2 weeks or so and got a big win over Wildwood Catholic this week. So they might be a team to look out for as well. Yeah,
obviously Kira Sides and Hurley there have kind of played well for Middle Township all season. They really played a tough schedule. Now I think they've won 7 or 8 in a row. They beat Wildwood Catholic this week, which kind of means that Middle Township is in control of that CAL United division. I think they've got 3 or 4 losses. Middle Township, one of the losses to Mainland Regional, one of the losses to Atlantic City, another loss is to Lenape, who is an outstanding team and a South Jersey Group 4 contender over from the other side of South Jersey. So Middle Township has played a tough schedule, and so far they're kind of battle-tested, and right now they're in charge of that CAL United division.
Talk with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And, Mike, looking at the boys' side for the Cal, there's really talking about 10 teams going for 8 spots in the Cal tournament, so there's going to be a little bit of a musical chairs thing going on over the next 3 weeks. I don't even know how you would even say at this point who might be in, who might be out. I mean, obviously, some of the top teams we know are probably going to be in, like St. Augustine, Wildwood Catholic, probably Millville. They've picked up 2 wins in a row after losing to St. Augustine. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of a free-for-all.
Yeah, well, I think you've got Wildwood Catholic right now as the number 1 seed right now. Kind of I think the clear number 1. I think St. Augustine to this point has established themselves as number 2. Then you've got I think Pleasantville with a big win over St. Joe this week at home. I would kind of put them at 3. I would put Millville at 4. Millville has a win over St. Joe. Last Friday, St. Augustine went to Millville, won that game by double digits, really controlled the game. So, that's why, St. Augustine at number 2. I put Millville in that number 4 slot right now. That number 5, 6 slot, I think, after last night, Mainland Regional, really one of the surprises of the season, 13-4. Great game from Angelo Barron last night as they beat Ocean City by double digits. And Coach Dan Williams was talking after the game, and the story I have on pressofac.com and in the paper today, that kind of the Mainland coaches were looking for a little bit of a rebuilding season when the year became, and now, at 13-4 and in first place in that national division, they kind of have to readjust and maybe start thinking a little higher, obviously. So I think you got Mainland and St. Joe at that 5-6 spot there. Then you've got, Ocean City, I think, at that 7 spot. And right now, Lower Cape May, Holy Spirit kind of battling for that final spot right there. So I think those are kind of, your 9 teams that are in contention for the 8 tournament spots.
Yeah, EHT right now, 8-10. They've definitely got to pick up some wins to get back in the conversation. Really, the National Conference, when you look at it, 4 teams, they're probably going to get 3 in, but there's 4 teams. 3 are tied for second place, Holy Spirit, Lower, and Ocean City. So that's going to be really a dogfight the next 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing with EHT, though, they've had an excellent season, but I think losses to, they've lost to Pleasantville, they've lost to Lower Cape May, I think they've lost to Mainland Regional also. So those kind of losses to teams from other divisions are going to hurt them as far as grabbing a wild card spot. That's why I think you'll get 2 teams right now out of the American division, 3 out of the National, and 3 out of the United. That's the way it's kind of unfolded right now.
Yeah, a little different than in years past, Mike, because you could almost count on 3 from the American almost every year with Prep, Millville, and Atlantic City. Atlantic City having a little bit of a tough year with some rebuilding going on there. So the United really looks like probably the strongest of the 3 conferences at this point. St. Joe is in 3rd place at 3-2, and they're one of the best teams in the conference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the National the top of the division is as good as any division in the CAL. I think if you're looking at overall balance, top to bottom, you might go to the National with those 4 teams: Holy Spirit, Ocean City, Lower Cape May, and Mainland Regional there, and plus Cedar Creek. They took Ocean City right to the wire this week, lost a 60-59 game, I believe, on Wednesday night, so they cannot be overlooked. And as far as the American division, you're right, usually you get 3 teams out of that division. This year you're probably only going to get 2, but let's keep in mind there are signs of life coming from Atlantic City. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They beat Asbury Park last Saturday. They beat ACIT and Bridgeton this week. They'll test themselves against Haddonfield tonight up at the Jeff Coney Classic at Rancocas Valley, but I think the Vikings, are 5-8 right now and on a 3-game winning streak. So we'll see. There are signs of life there from Gene Allen and Atlantic City, and we'll see if the Vikings can keep it going as the season progresses. As we kind of head into the Battle by the Bay next weekend.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, and Mike, what's been we're a little bit past the halfway point of the season, getting towards February, where teams start to separate themselves a little bit from each other. What's been sort of your theme for this season? What's been some of the highlights, some of the storylines that you've been catching the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, and what do you think is going to be the biggest storylines going forward?
Well, I think, you look at the season, I think that the dominant storylines early on have kind of been the Wildwood Catholic boys and what they have kind of been able to achieve and what Taj Feet and Jaleel White have been able to do. The 2 juniors, Division I prospects, attract like a handful of college coaches to every game they play. I think on the girls' side, you've got kind of Mainland Regional kind of emerging as the team to beat right now. And, I was talking to somebody this morning. The basketball season seems to move quickly. We're really almost 2 weeks away from the start of that, or a little bit more than 2 weeks away from the start of the Cape Atlantic League tournament. So right now, over the next 2 weeks, I'm kind of looking for that sort of Cape Atlantic League seeds to sort of, kind of settle in right there. Then you've got the Cape Atlantic League tournament. Then, of course, you've got the state tournament starting up on February 25th. So I'm kind of looking for, some teams to sort of establish themselves. And then I'm looking for, the postseason basically to get started.
Mike, probably the biggest surprise to me has been Lower Cape May. They're 12-4 right now, and they picked up a win late this week, I guess yesterday, even though one of their best players has now transferred to Wildwood Catholic. So great job by Coach Holden down there at Lower Cape May, keeping that team in the mix for the Cal tournament. And I don't think anybody expected them to really be in the hunt for that Cal national title.
Yeah, they're another surprise team to start the season. They went to a South Jersey Group 2 final last year. Obviously had Pat Holden, a great guard, scored more than 2,000 career points. But then they had 4 starters graduate. Not much was expected of them. They got off to a great start. They've hit a little rough patch here, lost a couple in a row, rebounded back yesterday with a win. Obviously the transfer of their top player to Wildwood Catholic, Martin Angulov, is now at Wildwood Catholic. He'll be ineligible to play the rest of the season. He's got to sit 30 days for the NJSAA, and then players who transfer in the second half of the season are also ineligible for the state tournament, so he won't play again the rest of the season. Obviously, that'll be a tough obstacle for Lower Cape May to overcome, but Lower has some talented players. In addition to him, Scott Holden is a great coach down there at Lower Cape May. They have a system. They've been successful in the past, and they showed, that they're going to be able to handle this adversity yesterday. So I wouldn't exactly, look past why Lower Cape May because, their top player decided to transfer.
Mike, any particular players really jump off the page at you as somebody you really haven't had a chance to see much in their career and got a little bit more chance to see this year and have been thinking, wow, that kid's a really good player?
Well, I think a couple things, a couple of young players sort of step out. The Garrison girl from Atlantic City, that freshman guard, I think she's got a potential to be a dynamic player with her ability to penetrate opposing defenses, create some shots for herself and her teammates. I think in the ACIT game, she was able to penetrate the ACIT defense and get the Vikings some layups, which, it's always good to get an assist when you make a pass for a layup rather than an assist for a 20-foot jumper. So, I think she's got that sort of ability. So I think what she was able to do, I think she stands out as kind of a player to watch right now on the girls' side, basically. On the boys' side, I thought Donovan Graham played great last night for Ocean City. I think he's had a good season so far, and I think Angelo Barron last night for Mainland Regional, Coach Dan Williams kind of called him a mini Ben Simmons. He's 6'3", 6'4", plays forward, plays guard, not quite sure what hand to shoot with, doesn't really love to shoot the three, but is a tough kid. And last night played a great game with 21 points to lead Mainland to that big win.
Yeah, Mike, one other girl to keep your eye on is ACIT freshman Siani Jackson. I mean, she's just a rebounding machine, and she really was dominating the first half against Atlantic City before she got into foul trouble. They got some nice freshmen. I know they're going to lose Kayla Sykes, right? They're going to lose her next year, right. But that's the only player they're going to lose off that team. So they got a real nice nucleus. They're building a pretty good program over there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought ACIT in that game, ACIT came into the game with Atlantic City. I think the game was on Tuesday, undefeated, but I still think there was some questions about ACIT, their schedule that they had played. I think teams were kind of wondering how good they were. I looked at it as kind of a credibility game for ACIT. And I think even though they lost the game, the ACIT girls came out with their sort of credibility enhanced. The fact that the game was so close, the fact that they lost 34-33. So I think people came out of the game looking at ACIT, or at least I did, saying, okay, they might have dropped this game, but I look at ACIT as a team that's for real right now. And they've got a big game today over at the 97.3 shootout that we'll be covering later today. They play Wildwood, and great matchup over there at Ocean City. Wildwood, of course, has Maddie McCracken, who I believe had a triple-double this week in a win. So if you want to go see two of the finer girls in South Jersey, and Kayla Sykes of ACIT and Maddie McCracken of Wildwood, Ocean City's the place to be today to watch that game.
Mike, real quick before we let you go, what's on your schedule for this weekend? What can fans be looking out for in the Press of AC coverage-wise for tomorrow's paper?
Well, obviously we'll have people over, not myself, but we'll have somebody over at that ESPN shootout. We'll be covering that ACIT Wildwood game today. We'll be covering Mainland Regional Ocean City girls tomorrow, and I'll be at the Wildwood Catholic Cherokee boys over at the Coney Classic. Great boys event up at Rancocas Valley today. A lot of other boys teams in action. As I mentioned, Atlantic City plays Haddonfield. I think St. Augustine plays Burlington Township. Holy Spirit plays Westhampton Tech, and Millville plays Willingboro. So a lot of Cape teams in action today at Rancocas Valley. So I'll be checking in over there, and we'll have complete coverage of the girls shootout over in Ocean City, focusing on that ACIT Wildwood game, Atlantic City Gloucester Catholic game, and of course, the Mainland Ocean City rivalry game tomorrow night at 7:00.
Yeah, Mike, no weekends off for you until late March, buddy.
No, there are no weekends off this time of year. I think last weekend was the last one. We get a breather. Battle by the Bay next weekend, and then shootout events and Paul VI the following weekend, and then it's tournament time after that. So, like you said, you're correct. No weekends off till July at this point, you know.
Good stuff, Mike. Keep up the good work. We always love reading your stuff, and appreciate you coming on every week to give us the lowdown on high school basketball.
All right, Sully. Thanks for having me on. Have a good week, and I'll see you out there. Thanks.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks, Mike.
All right, bye.
That was Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City.